Let me tell you something most people never realize: happiness isn't something you wait for. It's something you build, especially when life hits the hardest. Anyone can smile on the good days, but the people who transform their lives are the ones who choose to rise when everything feels heavy. So if you're tired, overwhelmed, or fighting battles no one else sees, this message is for you. Because today, you're going to learn how to push yourself toward happiness, even when life tries to pull you in the opposite direction. When you wake up in the morning, before you even open your eyes, there's a moment where life hasn't touched you yet. No stress, no pressure, no responsibilities. And in that tiny window, you have a choice, one that most people never realize they're making. You can decide whether you're going to react to the world today or you're going to create the world you want to live in. Happiness isn't something that magically lands on your lap when circumstances line up perfectly. Happiness is something you choose when everything inside you wants to choose something else. It's an internal commitment, not an external reward. People often wait for life to get easier before they allow themselves to be happy. They tell themselves, when I make more money, when I fix this relationship, when this stress goes away, when I finally achieve that goal, then I'll let myself feel good. But that's not how it works, because even when those things come, and they will, your mind will find the next problem, the next challenge, the next thing to worry about. Happiness built on conditions is temporary. Happiness built on choice is unshakable. There's a moment in every hard season where you're tempted to hand over the steering wheel of your emotions. Life knocks you down, and you start believing your only job is to survive the impact. But choosing happiness isn't pretending the pain doesn't exist. It's choosing not to let the pain take over the driver's seat. It's saying, yes, this hurts. Yes, this is heavy, but I still get to choose my attitude, my energy, and the way I show. It's easy to be positive when everything is working. Anyone can do that. But it takes strength, intention, and a completely different level of self-leadership to choose happiness when nothing feels easy. That's the moment where champions are built. That's where transformation begins, not in comfort, but in choosing your emotional state despite the discomfort. You decide the meaning you give your circumstances. You decide the lens you look through. And that decision shapes your entire experience of life. Think about the hardest times you've ever been through. You didn't choose them. You didn't ask for them. But somewhere along the way, you made it through them. And if you look closely, you'll realize that what got you through wasn't just strength. It was the small decisions you made every single day. The decision to get out of bed. The decision to keep going. The decision to not give up on yourself. Those choices were seeds. Seeds that slowly grew into resilience, into wisdom, into new versions of you that wouldn't exist without those hard moments. Happiness works the same way. It doesn't come from waiting for a perfect moment. It comes from planting small seeds of intention in the middle of imperfect moments. When you choose happiness, you are choosing to look for the good. You are choosing to look for opportunities. You are choosing to focus on the parts of your life that are still working, even if everything else feels like it's falling apart. You are choosing to be present instead of consumed by what happened yesterday or terrified of what might happen tomorrow. And yes, some days it's harder. Some days happiness feels like lifting a weight you don't have the strength to pick up. But it's exactly on those days that you need it the most. Happiness becomes your anchor, your clarity, your reminder that even when life is messy, you are still in control of who you become through the mess. The moment you stop waiting for external peace and start creating internal peace, everything changes. Life stops feeling like something happening to you and starts feeling like something happening through you. You start experiencing hard times with a deeper sense of meaning. You start realizing that happiness isn't the absence of challenges, it's the presence of courage, perspective, and intention within the challenge. You don't have to force a smile. You don't have to deny your pain. You simply choose not to let it be the only thing you feel. You choose to reconnect with gratitude, even if you can only find one small thing to be grateful for. You choose movement, growth, learning, connection. You choose to take control of the one thing life can never take from you, your response. When you truly understand that happiness is a daily choice, not a reward you earn, you take your power back. You stop waiting. You stop hoping life will change. You start changing yourself. And when you change yourself, everything around you starts to shift. Your energy, your relationships, your opportunities, your identity. Because happiness isn't the finish line. It's the fuel that carries you through the race. And once you make that choice, even on the hardest days, life will never feel the same again. When life gets heavy, the mind has a way of narrowing itself down to the problem. It fixes, it circles, it grabs hold of the one thing that isn't working and makes it feel like everything is falling apart. That's because your mind is trained for survival, not happiness. It's wired to scan for danger, to highlight the negative, and to amplify every worst-case scenario. And if you don't learn how to interrupt that pattern, it will drag you into a dark place where every thought makes life feel heavier. But here's the truth most people never learn: what you focus on expands. Whatever you feed with your attention grows stronger. Your energy follows your focus, and your emotional state follows your energy. So if all your attention goes to the things that are wrong, the things you can't control, the fears that live in the back of your mind, you're going to feel powerless. You're going to feel stuck. You're going to feel like life is happening to you instead of happening for you. This is why happiness isn't just an emotional choice, it's a focus choice. It's choosing what gets your mental real estate. It's choosing which thoughts get to stay and which ones you refuse to give power to. And this isn't denial. This isn't pretending everything is sunshine and perfection. It's simply refusing to let negativity dominate your inner world. Think about the last time you felt overwhelmed. Your mind probably zoomed in on one stressful moment and completely ignored the 100 things that were going right. You didn't think about your strengths, your resilience, the people who care about you, the progress you've made. Your mind filtered all of that out and put a spotlight on the one thing that scared you or stressed you out. Not because it wanted to hurt you, but because it thought it was protecting you. But protection and growth don't speak the same language. And the more you feed fear, the more fear grows. The more you feed doubt, the louder doubt becomes. The more you feed stress, the heavier life feels. Happiness comes from deliberately shifting that focus, even when your emotions fight you, especially when your emotions fight you. You start by asking yourself better questions. Not what's wrong with my life, but what's still good in my life. Not why is this happening, but what can I learn from this? How can I grow from this? Not how bad is this situation, but what parts of this can I control? Your focus influences your mood, your mindset, and even the actions you take. One shift in focus can change the entire direction of your day. Sometimes the problem isn't your life, it's the meaning you attach to your experiences. If you focus on the parts of life that drain you, you will always feel empty. But if you focus on the parts that give you energy, even if they're small, you start to feel alive again. You start to realize you're not as stuck as your mind tried to convince you. It's like walking into a dark room. At first, it feels overwhelming. You can't see anything. You're unsure where to move. But if you spot one tiny source of light and focus on it, the whole room begins to feel different. You walk toward it. You gain direction. You gain clarity. Your confidence returns. That's what shifting focus does for your emotional life. You look for the light, even if it's small. You move toward it, and suddenly, the darkness doesn't feel as powerful. You can't always control what shows up in your life, but you can always control what stays in your mind. That's your power. You get to choose whether you feed the fear or the faith, whether you feed the problem or the possibility, whether you feed the doubt or the determination. And the crazy thing is, the situation might not change immediately, but you will. And because you change, the way you handle the situation changes. Your energy changes. Your decisions change. The way you see the world changes. When you shift your focus toward what you can control, you become stronger. When you shift it toward gratitude, you become lighter. When you shift it toward growth, you become unstoppable. None of that happens by accident. It happens because you decide that your mind will not be a playground for negativity. Every day you're training your brain. Every thought is a rep. Every moment of focus becomes a habit. And over time, those habits shape your emotional default settings. If you want happiness to be your natural state, you have to feed the things that build it. You have to become intentional about where you place your attention. You have to treat your mind like a garden, pull out the weeds, water what matters, and give sunlight to the things that help you grow. Because at the end of the day, whatever you feed will shape you. And when you choose to feed the thoughts that empower you instead of the ones that drain you, happiness stops feeling like something you chase and starts feeling like something you create. There's a moment in every difficult season where your emotions tell you to stop, to pause your life, to wait until you feel better. But if you've ever gone through a hard time, you know that waiting for the feeling rarely works. You can sit in your room thinking and overthinking, trying to mentally climb out of the heaviness, but your mind doesn't always give you the strength you need. That's because emotions are reactive. They follow momentum. And when life feels heavy, your emotional momentum is usually moving in the wrong direction. This is where most people get trapped. They think they need to feel motivated before they take action. They think they need to feel happy before they choose something that makes them happier. They wait for clarity before they move. They wait for the energy before they begin. And while they're waiting, life keeps piling up around them. The weight gets heavier, the feelings get deeper, and the mind gets louder. But the truth is simple. You don't think your way into a better emotional state, you act your way into it. Emotion follows action, not the other way around. The moment you move, even a little, you start creating inner momentum. When you take a small step, you send a message to your brain that says, we're not stuck, we're not helpless, we're moving forward. Think about it. Have you ever forced yourself to take a walk even when you didn't want to, and somehow you came back feeling lighter? Or pushed yourself to clean your room, and afterward you felt a sense of clarity you didn't even know you needed? Or reached out to someone even though you were drained, and the connection made your chest unclench just a little? That's emotional momentum. That's the power of small actions. When life is hard, you don't need massive change, you just need movement. You need one action that gives your mind something to follow, one step that shifts your state, one choice that changes the direction of your energy. Because once you take that step, the next step becomes easier. And once you take enough steps, something surprising happens. Your feelings begin to catch up. It's like pushing a car that's stalled. The first push takes everything you have. It barely moves. It feels impossible. But once the wheels start turning, even slightly, every push becomes easier. Eventually, the car starts moving with you instead of fighting against you. That's your emotional state. The beginning is the hardest. But the moment momentum starts working for you, everything shifts. Tiny actions create that shift, not huge goals, not massive overhauls, just small, consistent, intentional movement. And when you're going through a hard season, those tiny actions matter even more. Maybe it's making your bed. Maybe it's stepping outside for a minute. Maybe it's drinking water instead of scrolling. Maybe it's writing down one thing you're grateful for. Maybe it's taking a deep breath on purpose instead of letting your stress run wild. It's not about the size of the action. It's about what it signals to your brain. It tells your mind, I'm taking control again. It reminds you of your strength. It reminds you that you're not powerless. It reminds you that even in the darkest moments, you have the ability to shift your state. Life doesn't get lighter when you sit still. It gets heavier. Because inactivity feeds the emotion you're trying to escape. Action breaks the cycle. It interrupts the spiral. It gives your brain a new direction. And the more you move, the more you reclaim your identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who's struggling and start seeing yourself as someone who's rising through the struggle. Sometimes, the smallest actions lead to the biggest breakthroughs, not because the action itself is huge, but because it changes the story you're telling yourself. When you move, you're no longer the victim of your emotions, you're the leader of your life. You're no longer waiting to feel better, you're creating the path that leads to feeling better. And that's where real transformation begins. Not when everything around you changes, but when you prove to yourself that you can still take steps even when it's hard. You build confidence, you build resilience, you build self-respect, you build emotional momentum. Before you know it, happiness doesn't feel like a distant dream. It feels like something you're actively building with every choice. And all of it starts with one small action, taken on the days when it feels hardest. There's a point in every hard season where you look at your life and wonder why things had to unfold the way they did. You question the timing, the pain, the setbacks, the losses, the moments that shook you in ways you didn't expect. And in those moments, it's so easy to believe that life is punishing you or that you're going through something meaningless. But what if the struggle isn't here to break you? What if it's here to reveal something you never would have seen otherwise? What if the pain isn't a roadblock, but a doorway? Most people spend their hardest chapters trying to escape them. They resist the discomfort. They run from the pressure. They try to numb it, avoid it, or pretend it doesn't exist. But the harder you push against pain, the longer it stays. Because pain has a message. Pain is trying to transform you. Pain is trying to grow you into someone you're not yet, but someone you need to become. And here's the thing most people never realize: you always get to choose the story you tell about your struggle. Two people can go through the exact same hardship. One walks out broken, and one walks out stronger. The difference isn't the pain itself. The difference is the meaning they gave it. You might not have control over what happened, but you have full control over what it becomes. If you look at your pain as punishment, it will limit you. It will shrink you. It will make you feel like life is unfair. But if you look at it as preparation, everything changes. Suddenly, you realize that the hard moments are chiseling away the parts of you that were never meant to stay. They're reshaping your character, your perspective, your strength, your capacity. It's not happening to hurt you, it's happening to refine you. Think about every powerful person you admire. Their stories aren't built on easy days. Their stories are built on survival, resilience, breakdowns, rebuilding, and rising again. If you take their pain out of the equation, you take their power out too. The exact thing they once hated became the foundation of their growth, their confidence, their depth, and their purpose. And the same can be true for you. Sometimes the hardest chapters of your life end up being the ones that teach you who you are. When you go through struggles, you learn your limits, and then you learn that you can go beyond them. When life collapses, you're forced to rebuild from scratch, and in that rebuilding, you discover strength you didn't know you had. When you're hurt, you're forced to face the parts of yourself that need healing. When things fall apart, you're pushed to create new meaning, new habits, new beliefs, new standards. Pain forces growth that comfort never could. There are moments when you don't see the purpose in the pain because you're still inside it. You're still in the middle of the storm, and storms make everything blurry. But every storm eventually passes, and when it does, you start to see things that weren't visible before. You start to see how certain situations redirected you. You start to see how certain challenges softened you or strengthened you or sharpened you. You start to see how the pieces that felt broken were actually being rearranged into something better. You begin to understand that struggle leaves behind gifts, wisdom, empathy, boundaries, courage, clarity, and those gifts become part of your purpose. They allow you to help others. They allow you to lead. They allow you to build. They allow you to love differently, live differently, and show up differently. When you rewrite your pain into purpose, it no longer controls you. You control it. It no longer defines you, it transforms you. It no longer weighs you down, it builds you up. You shift from asking, why is this happening to me, to what is this creating within me? That shift alone can change your entire life. And here's the most powerful part: when you choose to give your pain purpose, your happiness becomes deeper. Not surface level happiness that disappears when things go wrong, but a grounded, meaningful happiness that survives the storms because it understands them. A happiness that comes from knowing you can face anything and still rise. A happiness rooted in strength, not circumstances. Life is going to throw challenges your way. That's guaranteed. But you get to decide whether those challenges become chains or wings. You get to choose whether the pain becomes a story about what broke you or a story about what built you. And when you make that choice with intention, the pain no longer feels like the end of something. It starts to feel like the beginning of something new. As you stand here now, I want you to remember something powerful. Happiness isn't something you stumble into. It's something you build, piece by piece, choice by choice, moment by moment. Life will always have its storms. It will always test you, push you, and stretch you in ways that feel unfair. But you are stronger than every moment that tried to break you. You've survived every hard day you thought you couldn't. You've risen from things that felt impossible, and that strength is still inside you. When life gets heavy, you don't wait for the world to change. You change the way you show up to the world. You choose your focus. You choose your actions. You choose the story you tell. And those choices, repeated day after day, create a version of you that's unshakable. You are not here to simply endure life. You are here to shape it, to rise through it, to turn pain into purpose, struggle into strength, and hard days into the foundation of a life you're proud of. The world doesn't need a perfect version of you. It needs the real you, the one who keeps going even when it's hard, the one who chooses happiness even when it doesn't come easily, the one who turns setbacks into comebacks. So as you walk forward from here, carry this truth with you. You have the power to transform your life from the inside out. And no matter what you face next, you have everything you need to rise.